So the plot thickens even this afternoon because two live games on talkSPORT. Croatia against Brazil, 3 o'clock for that, the first quarter final. Then 7 o'clock tonight UK time, Netherlands Argentina. So Andy, Danny and Carlton are with me. We're all ears. Pick us out one player to watch with EE taking part in Croatia Brazil. Who have you got for us?
Well, because he's going to be particularly busy this afternoon, I've gone for Joško Gvardiol, who we do expect to end up in the Premier League at some point in the relatively near future, whether it be January or July, probably to Chelsea, who I think, if he's not been the best centre-back of the tournament, he's been really, really close. And I think when you look at Chelsea's particular needs, the fact that he can play left-sided centre-back or left-back, a little bit like Lucas Hernandez, who obviously went down in the first game for France. He's been very mature from a very early age, still only 20. It's really hard to believe. I think because there's not an enormous amount of great centre-backs in world football at the moment, that makes him stand out. The fact that Croatia have needed to get a bit younger makes him stand out as well. I think he's comfortably their best defender, despite the experience of Dejan Lovren. And again, if we go back to the Chelsea angle of it, they've needed that Rudiger replacement, and he really hits that exact spot.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the chaps I met early on in the tournament was indeed Todd Bowley, who's out there or has been out there, so he's all over the tournament anyway. Andy, on this tie itself, does the flair of Brazil cancel out Croatian resilience?
It makes them the favourites, there's no doubt about that. But Croatia, considering everyone is always talking about what an ageing side they are, if we compare them to, say, Belgium, who they were in the same group as, they're getting younger quicker than Belgium. They're bringing younger players in at a better rate. And, of course, you look at Luka Modric, who's ageing better than any of Belgium's vintage stars, for example, because he's a better player than he was 4 years ago when he won the Ballon d'Or. So Croatia are second favourites, but the way they can dig in for a side of that technical ability, I think is pretty amazing.
It's interesting, isn't it? Everyone says, the Croatians are really old. But if you look at the predicted lineups, average age of Brazil, 27.9 years. Average age of Croatia, 27.4.
Aha!
It's only a couple. It's a couple of players in there that tip the balance, isn't it? I look at Brazil's side, and we all talk about Brazilian flair, and don't worry, they've got some of that without a shadow of a doubt. But their midfield is superb. Defensively, they're very, very strong. They've got a magnificent goalkeeper. Got two magnificent goalkeepers. To take your pick. Yeah. That's always been the strengths. Underrated by Brazil. Their midfield and defence are very, very good.
Well, we talked about this actually last night, Danny, on talkSPORT. I think the thing that always strikes me about Brazil is we have all the cliches of samba, carnival football, etc., etc. Since they got kicked off the park in the 1966 World Cup, there was a sea change in Brazilian football, which Tim Vickery will tell you, that the fact that they said, right, we're not going to get beaten up again. And the physical side of it has always been part of Brazilian football for the last 40 plus years.
South American football, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it is, but I think it goes against the cliche of what we think of Brazilian football as being. And I think the thing that has always made them tournament favourites for me is the fact that they do have the best defence in the tournament.